When I joined February of '68.
And where were you stationed?
I went to boot camp in San Diego, and then I got, went advanced infantry training at Camp Pendleton, and then they gave me approximately 3 weeks leave, and got orders from Vietnam, because when I enlisted in the Marine Corps, at that time, basically, if you enlisted in the Marine Corps or get drafted, you almost had guaranteed you were going to Nam. So I knew that. I was 18 years old. I was young. Yes, very young. But actually, you almost came to the point where you didn't want to wear your uniform, because nobody cared. I mean, it was like, and plus you had short hair. I mean, you're high and tight, so everybody knew that you were in the military. Everybody had long hair back then, and I feel sorry for these veterans today. They're going through a crisis, coming home. But actually, I'm kind of jealous of that, because we're so vet conscious now. But where were everybody 40 years ago? I mean, it was an unpopular war, and I understand it was a very unpopular war, and because we were told that Vietnam, the domino theory, and that communism was going to take over the world, and blah blah blah. I see Vietnam today. There's poverty there, but they don't seem to be too bad right now. I mean, if I was 20, 30 years younger and had some money, I'd go over there and start a business. It's like going to the Shenandoah Valley now. It's just mountains, and everybody's on bicycles, motorcycles. And they all want your money. He had to do the reading over there. And a couple times I got choked up, because there was so many times I should be on that wall. All I know is I don't know. I guess it's the guilt complex with veterans when they come back. It's sad, really. But fate, I guess it's fate that you survive. There's a purpose, I guess. Because, at that time, 40-something years ago, all those poor guys, they didn't have a chance. And I keep on thinking, how many people did we kill? Like when we bombed Hanoi, I mean, B-52 strikes, thousands of people died. And those poor people, you think they would totally hate us, but they don't. I mean, you talk about having PTSD, the people of Vietnam, I mean, they had to go through that. And one night he went out, and there was something fishy about the whole thing, but I still keep on thinking, the guy from New York, short little guy, and his name was Mays. And we both ran about a quarter of a mile, and we get back to our compound, and half his back of his leg is missing, bleeding like a sucker. And we had to do a medevac at night, which is not too good. We don't like to do medevac, but we had to. And the biggest thing I can remember is the music, because everybody had a radio, and all the sounds from the 60s and 70s, and AFVN radio, like Good Morning Vietnam and stuff like that. That was quite interesting. But if the people, if you know what war is like, if leaders know what it's like, that's the last thing you want to do. It's the last thing. Just don't go. You have to learn of the consequences, and you're going to create a whole generation now that they're going to have problems. The sad thing is 58-something thousand men are on that wall right now, and how many other guys come back and kill themselves because of the war? Probably double that, maybe more. And that's the sad, and nobody dedicates anything to them. They're gone. I mean, they couldn't hack it. They couldn't deal with it. And every veteran goes through that. And they take you out, they put you in, they train you to kill, and they put you in an atmosphere, and then they pull you out, and then you're supposed to come back to society and just say, oh, okay, flip a switch, okay, you're normal now. You're supposed to be cheerful and happy, just like nothing ever happened. Oh, wait a second, you take an 18-year-old, 19, 20-year-old kid, and stick them in an atmosphere, it's going to affect them. I mean, you don't, hell, there's people still World War II generation right now still having mental problems because of the war, World War II in Korea. I mean, it's going to mess with your mind. I mean, it has to. I mean, you can't, you're not normal. Took our helmets, we turned them around and we wrote on, I like CBS, on our helmets. Specifically so that way when the NBC crew would come around, we would wear our helmets, but we'd turn them around and put I like CBS with the I and everything on it. We did. And the lieutenant, man, he didn't know it. They didn't know it at first, what we were doing. We were laughing because we were so sick of the news crew, because the news crew was always there trying to, but they would never interview the ordinary grunts. People only knew what was really going on there, and eventually they did. Then the war ended. I mean, yeah, I went there. I came back on Liberation Day, April 30th, and it was like the 4th of July in Vietnam. Vietnamese flags flying, the red with the star everywhere, and this girl kept saying, you come, and we have fireworks tonight at 10 o'clock. No way. I said, no fireworks in Vietnam. I will freak out. I can't say, I never did talk about it because I had nobody to talk to, period, but it was like I wanted to like press a button on your computer and hit delete. I couldn't do it. Yeah, so, most kids, they don't even know what it was. They couldn't even pick it on a map, I don't think. They're completely oblivious.
Harris, Robert, William, Koshiba, Dennis, William, Major, Allen, Stanley.
Vietnam, and where did
No, I wasn't in Vietnam. My grandfather was in Vietnam.
Okay.
And twice Purple Heart recipient.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did he tell you any stories?
No, he didn't ever really speak about it. It's something that he just kept to himself. How to be, what this country stands for, and and what people will do for the country. My son wants to be in Air Force, so he wants to go to the Air Force Academy. So we'll try to get him in there. But I try to instill this in them, in all of them, and it's just it takes a lot to serve your country, to be a soldier, even in a free will, so basically military.
Well, I guess
it's, I think, as the government-wise, it's changed. It's not the same. It doesn't stand for the same as it used to. I mean, as a regular Joe, it's the same, I think. Everybody usually, most people join the military for college. And that's all the buddies that I went to go for career. But unfortunately, I got hurt and I couldn't do it, so I got, discharged out. But it instills a sense of patriotism. Just going in there and doing it, because they do tell you, they make sure they know that you're the only 3% of the country that's brave enough to have enough cojones to protect your country.
McNaughton, Michael, Dean. Minton, Christopher, Allen, H. Lawyer, Gene, Allen. Pennington, James, E. Jr. Quigley, John, Martin. McConnell, Jerry.
So what made you come to see the wall today?
We came to honor 3 of our family friends that fell in the Vietnam War, and thought it would be the right thing to do. We had seen the one in Washington, D.C. in 1996, but we'll always honor our veterans and our fallen and our family. So, yeah, we're glad it's here. We're thankful it's here, and I want to thank the friends that helped bring this about. Yeah, thankful to them for honoring these sweet young men. Starting in, I believe it was 1965, was the first family friend that we lost, Alfred Anderson. You never forget the funerals. You don't forget. And I remember my brother sitting on one side of me and just big tears coming down. It was hard. And then in 68, I think it was, my brother's best friend, Johnny Adam, was shot down. I think it was over Laos. They didn't find his remains and bring them out until last year. And so I'm thankful, and I hope his dad's still alive. I think he is, in Kansas City. And we wanted to honor them as well. And last but not least was Gerald Westfall. He was a neighbor of ours too, a beautiful young man, tall young man. He used to bring me toys to my crib when I was a baby. I don't know why I remembered that. That's how I remember him the best. But yeah, it's been hard. It's like,
so there's what, 3 people on the wall?
3 people, yeah. All 3 of them are there. And I think I'm forgetting one other, because I'm a little old lady. I'm forgetting the 4th one, but I know there was a 4th one, and I think he was from our neighborhood that perished in the war too. So it meant a lot to us to go back in '96 and see the wall in Washington, D.C. But it was
Is the wall bigger?
quite an experience. Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah, very much so.
How tall is it? I mean,
Oh gosh, I don't know. If I put my hand up, I maybe could reach the top. But you know, as you start and go down the ramp, which signifies the fallen, and then come back up the other side, it's very emotional. It's very meaningful, and so I'm glad they tried to simulate that here with, you know, the shape of the names coming down into the center and going east and west. So yeah, it means a lot. And again, I'm very thankful to those that, you know, brought this about and brought it here. So sorry, I'm a big crybaby. But yeah, these beautiful young men that left, and families were just so torn up, so devastated. But I'm grateful that they, yeah, I'm just very, very grateful that they served our country, and I honor them today, those that served. So my dad was military too. He served under General Patton in the Battle of the Bulge, World War II, of course. And it was pretty awesome, his experiences too. Never talked about it until I was older. And I was glad, because he had a lot of pictures and things that were pretty graphic, and that brought it home too. You know, it was a real thing. It really did happen. So.
do you have any stories to tell?
My dad was there when General Patton shot the 2 mules and threw them over the bridge. And so the Mule Corps was kind of done away with after that, as I understand it. And so my dad was part of that, going up the Pikes Peak climb with the mules. And he told a lot of stories about the mules balking, you know, and not, you know, sitting down, not wanting to move. So that was kind of comical. But my dad also said that they were in charge of freeing the prison camps. And there was one in, I think it was Gunskirchen or Kirkhausen or someplace in Austria, where there weren't supposed to be any concentration camps, but there was one. Yeah, the Australians and the British had been just ahead of them and had thrown open the gates. And my dad said that these poor things were streaming out, the ones that could walk. They looked like living skeletons. And he said that he was on a Jeep and they were reaching up their hands to them and motioning food. And so my dad said they'd been told not to touch them, so they would throw out their little rations. You know, I'm not sure if they were in a can or what. And they were throwing out the rations to them, and it was really, really hard to see. But my dad said so many of them, when they went into the camp itself, were slated to go into the ovens. They were still on the slab to be rolled in. And then he took pictures of just huge mounds of people who had died there. And I still have those somewhere today. But it brings it home to you. And drawings of, you know, dead horses and dead people all along the roads, going in and coming out. So yeah, it's very real for me, you know, because of the family. So I think the majority of Americans, if they have any affiliation at all with those who served, friends, family, whomever, it gives you a greater respect for what these people go through. And so, yeah, I think there's a high level of patriotism right now. At least I hope people honor and respect those that serve for us. So I had uncles that served. My husband had uncles that served, one in Guadalcanal, I think one in the Philippines, My other 3 uncles, they never talked much about it, but yeah, they were pretty patriotic people as well. You know, God, family, country kind of guys from Kansas. So, you know, we're pretty fascinated with the history of it. And my husband is usually always glued to, you know, History Channel things and PBS specials whenever he can. You know, he drives me crazy with that. But yeah, like I say, I have to honor and respect those who, you know, gave their all, the ultimate sacrifice. And I do appreciate them. You're going to get me going again. Oh gosh, we appreciate them.
McConnell, Jerry. Niemeyer, Louis, Andrew, Jr. Nisgoda, Michael, Allen. Morlock, William, Franklin.
So when were you in Vietnam?
I was in Vietnam July 20th, 1965, 69. I landed the same time they landed on the moon, but it was the one step for me. I had a couple steps to take, and I was there it was just an experience that would be hard to tell anybody, to be honest with you. So no matter who was over there, no matter what you did, it was important. But no matter what anybody did over there, what anybody says, if you were there, you knew what it took. So I'm here, I'm staying out here. I came out there for the wall. This is the first time I've ever went to a wall. We have one in Philadelphia, which I wouldn't go to, and took a ride down to DC, and I couldn't do it. And then when they asked for, I knew I was coming. Well, he told me I was coming out on vacation, but actually, I think he came out to put me to work. So when the first time I saw it, it was like awesome. And there's a lot of names on there, and I hope people realize what these guys did for their country, and I hope the next generations appreciate it, because I know the Vietnam generation really appreciates what the World War II vets did, and now I appreciate what the Afghanistan and Iraqi vets are going through. And I think instead of just saying the military being all brothers, I think we're all brothers. And this wall means a lot to a lot of us. So when you kind of look at it, it makes you really humble and proud, because you know how it got there, and you know who the people were that did it. So I like to, you know, thank everybody that contributes to this kind of thing right now, and especially to my friend Barry Weatherby. And it's just awesome. It's just unbelievable.
Started this movement to bring the wall here.
Yeah, it was Barry.
Yeah, oh yeah, you know him already.
Yeah, well, he's my best friend.
Oh.
He's the one I'm on vacation with.
Okay.
This is my vacation. See, he set me up.
Okay.
He said, well, I knew you'd be a good worker, so I got to get somebody out of here who's going to work. It was just the four of them that did all this. I guess you realize that, right? It took them 2 years, those four guys, over 2 years. And I used to talk to Barry on the phone, and, you know, he would tell me that this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do, and he actually did it. And he can be very extremely proud of himself and his friends, and I'm very extremely proud of him. Anyway, I really appreciate what the guys are doing for one another, and it makes me feel like a country again. And I've kind of lost that. You know, I kind of lost the way things are going in with our politics and all that, and I'm very disgruntled with Congress for what they did, but what they didn't do, I have to say. And maybe they should come out to the wall. I think that'd probably be more important. So a lot of us need help, and I think if you look around, especially what our medical needs and everything for this country, start thinking about us first and stop thinking about everybody else. I don't want to see any more walls. I think we've had enough of them. So like I said, I really appreciate the work that has been done by people that didn't have to do anything, and they made it happen. So,
You remember when people were coming back from Vietnam?
yes, very much
They
so.
weren't exactly appreciated.
No, not at all.
You remember that?
Yes, I do remember it extremely well. extremely well. In fact, we were like shunned. And I had younger brothers, and a couple things that they said was kind of like, don't even go there. I really didn't want to think about that. That was probably one of the hardest parts of the whole thing, because most of us at the time, we did not want to go. And you know, I had a pretty good life before that, and just I understand how today with the servicemen today, I really appreciate them, because they're going away for 6 months or whatever at a time, and their families staying home. I don't think people realize how difficult that is unless you've been there, and I do understand that. So I'd like to really thank the guys in the service today that are doing it. And like I said, our guys that we went where we had to go. That's all there is to it. So I guess that's pretty much it for me.
Wes, Stanley, Eugene, Silberg, Paul, John, Wolf, Richard, Glenn, Trainhand, Thomas, Neil, Thomas, Joseph.
And I understand that you were one of the ones that brought the wall here, so I'd like to know that whole story.
Okay. Well, my friend Barry Weatherby and I, he had a knee rehab, and we started coming down here to exercise and walk, and it helped me lose some weight, and Barry was rehabilitating his knee. And one time we were walking around the track, and Barry's like, gee, it would really be nice to get the traveling wall down here. So I guess one thing led to another, and he's like, how the heck we going to do that? And we went home, got on the computer, started looking, put the application in. It's taken 2.5 years actually to get it here. So I guess just the whole thing, it just took on a life of its own. We involved Marty Cantu, who's the leader of the Purple Heart chapter here in Rio Rancho, and with all the contacts Marty knew and all. And then we had to do the fundraising, which was a little bit daunting to us, because neither one of us ever really, had organized any sort of event like this or had any idea of how to organize an event like this. So I'm personally, I'm like amazed at the turnout we've had, and the positive feedback, and the people coming up to us and thanking Barry and I and Marty and stuff, where they realize that, who George is or Barry is or Marty is, and they come over and, hey, thanks for doing this. And one guy he was talking to, 2 buddies in his unit were on there, and he hadn't been to the wall in DC in years, and he was really thankful. And it was just a beautiful thing to sit back and watch, kind of thing. I mean, we still jump in there, we're doing our thing, helping out and doing what our little jobs are here, but just sitting up there on the hill and watching the people approach the wall and stay to the wall, and it's neat, all the little mementos are being left there too. One of the things, for one thing, the vet centers, they're called the vet centers. A lot of vets start their journey there with their help, and how the vet center started was there was a bunch of Vietnam veterans, and guys were having problems with their claims, and they set up offices and would do the paperwork for them and do the follow-up work and all that sort of thing. And they were sort of a bunch of renegades doing it on their own in their own time, and the VA was sort of against them. And then all of a sudden, all the good work that they did and all the people they helped, they basically, because of the job they did, had to say, okay, well, the vet centers are a valid entity. We really do have to, take them under their umbrella. So the vet centers are actually under the VA umbrella, but still unto themselves. They don't answer to the VA. And it's a great starting place. And the Vietnam vets actually started that. I've had Iraq vets, Afghanistan vets, Gulf War vets come up to me and say, if it wasn't for you Vietnam vets, then we wouldn't have the help in place for us. So I do see an improvement. I still do talk to a lot of vets that don't get the help they need and should have had, but it's really a hard process to go through, and it's hard to take the first step. It really is, to say, hey, I need the help, and go get it. That's another thing. So, but there is improvement, I feel.
Do you think there's?
So, I mean, I think there could be a little more awareness when guys come back, but I almost think that's in place, because when your son comes home and you know he's not behaving like he did before he left, you know, they sort of know that now, and they sort of say, well, do you need some help, or you need to go get some help and stuff. So another thing I thought of is there could be a follow-up maybe with the military and the VA and all that, like maybe a year down the road, just have a guy come in and say, how you doing, what's going on, you know, everything good in your life, or you need any help in this department, that department. I think that's one thing that people have asked me before what I think anything could be done, and I think, you know, then like maybe the guy that is having that problem with PTSD or having a physical problem, and he's just saying, the heck with it, I really don't want the help, you know, then that year later say, you know, even if it's not mandatory, just kind of like put it out there and say, look, come on in, see us, talk to us, you know, how's things going, do an evaluation.
So a way to offer the help.
Yes, you know, put it out there, you know, this way, because a lot of guys don't realize the help's there for them, you know, and they just don't seek it, or they don't go after it. And then a lot of times, like, well, they don't, you know, they don't realize it. But I think they're being made aware of that also, because from I'm told by guys that are coming out, they can actually start their VA process before they leave a year ahead of time. If they feel they have PTSD, they can put in for it before they leave and get evaluated, and, you know, if there's something to be done, then it's done.
Thomas, Neil. Thomas, Joseph, Harold. Trout, Michael, Richard. Shook, Kenneth, Wilson. Schaefer, Arlen, Glenn. Brooks, Alfred.
What brings you here to the wall? What?
Well, I'm a proud member of New Mexico Patriot Guard Riders. So my background is patriotism, and this wall represents a lot of souls that gave their life for my freedom.
Do you have any names on the wall?
Yes, I do. I have two classmates, Harry Puckett and Robert Lopez, whose remains were just returned 2 years ago. I'm glad he's home. Hero down, kickstands up represents what we do at Patriot Guard. We lose the hero. I don't ride personally. My husband rides, gets on his bike. It's kickstands up. We attend their funerals or their memorials, stand a flag line, and show that we appreciate what they've done for us. Our mission is to honor. It started back in Vietnam when these souls were brought home. Their funerals were protested. Our founder saw a need. He took care of that need. He organized across our nation to protect the families from protesters. That's our job. Now we don't really deal much with the protesters anymore, but we are there to honor and to honor our fallen hero and to support their families. That's our mission. I am lucky enough to be New Mexico Patriot Guard Riders chaplain. I'm so honored by that.
Yeah.
Glenn. Brooks, Alfred, Ivory. Cunningham, George, Michael. Davis, William, Thomas. Cruz, Arthur, Blake. Acme, Samuel, Frederick.
So when were you in Vietnam?
I was there from June of '67 to June of '68.
Okay. Stationed at?
I was at a place called Loc Ninh, which was about 80 miles north of Saigon. Right up about 13 miles from the Cambodian border.
So did you know anybody on the wall here?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I know about a dozen people on the wall. There was a group of when I went over in June of '67. There were 13 of us that went together as a group, and only 7 of us came back a year later. So, and the other guys are all still on the wall.
Yeah. Yeah. So, so this is the first time you've seen the wall?
No, I've seen the one in D.C. And I went there about, probably close to 10 years ago or more.
It's a pretty major thing.
Yeah. So it looks like it worked out pretty well for them.
Yeah.
And they're getting a lot of good turnout, which is good.
Oh yeah. During when the troops came back from Vietnam, there was a lack of support. Did you feel that?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I got a job here. I started working here, and I got out in '69, and I started working here in town in '72, and my employer was gonna pay my tuition to go to school. And so I enrolled in UNM, and I lasted about 3 semesters because they were just so hostile to Vietnam veterans. It was just incredible. And so, I finally got to where, I can't stay here. I might do something awful, so I got to get out of here. And so that's kind of how that worked out.
Yeah,
So, yeah, my experience with UNM was not a happy one.
okay.
Acme, Samuel, Frederick, Briner, Stephen, Eugene, Cunningham, Norman, Northrop, Brightswitz, Lawrence, W, Barry, Joe, Cleveland, Ingram, Allen.
Can you see something?
Okay, it's really moving for me to be here today. I had a brother that served in Vietnam. He would have celebrated his 67th birthday on October 2nd.
Okay.
And he came back. He didn't lose his life in Vietnam, but several years after he got back, he committed suicide. And being here today makes me feel closer to him, makes me feel like I've been with him and talked to him.
That's very nice.
And it just makes me so grateful for all the soldiers that gave their all for us.
Yeah. They almost ought to be on the wall too, huh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, your brother did when he got back, did you notice any difference in him, or?
No, not right away. It wasn't until, maybe 15 years later that it started manifesting, started showing up.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's all
But he
kinds
was
of-
really troubled from.
Yeah. Well, you see things that you names on the wall. That
I did. There was 2, and I got the imprints. I got
yeah.
the rubbings.
Yeah.
I got their names, and I feel closer to them too and to their families.
Cool.
Ingram, Allen, Wade, Johnson, John, Lafayette, Heron, Carl, Richard, Estrada, Mario, Peretta, Halgren, Richard, Lee.
Okay, so you're helping out with the wall today, huh?
I've been helping out with the wall since Thursday evening off on.
Okay.
Memories, they look for people that they've known. They've come here out of curiosity. And we who are here is a message that we're trying to send. The message that needs to stay alive. So
There was a time where the people coming back from Vietnam weren't respected or weren't. Do you remember that period of time?
In my time, it was, for example, settlers and dogs keep off the grass. Yes, I do remember that time very well. I was dating my wife at that time, and some teenage boy says, I wouldn't want my sister to marry one of them. So I obliged him, I obeyed him. I married her, we've been married for 46 years. Yes, I remember that time. I remember it very well. And I do remember the demonstrations. I was in San Diego going to college when some of the demonstrations occurred. Okay? It was a time that was painful for all people, not just the military. It was painful for the civilians. It was painful for us coming back. It was a time that, yeah, we paid a dear price.
David, Hanson, Carl, Ballantyne, Giles, Dennis, Lee, Paulson, Norman, McLeod.
So when were you in Vietnam?
I was there in 1969 and 1970.
And you were stationed at?
I was stationed outside of Da Nang at Red Beach with the Seabees.
Yeah, there's quite a few
It's
people.
I don't remember names. I remember faces, but it's not like it's been 40 years, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Have you ever seen the big one? The one in DC?
No, I'd like to, but I don't know. It might be too overwhelming for me, you know. But I mean, in my heart, I mourn for 58,000 veterans, you know. My first job was at Sears and Roebuck's, and they made me a manager of the pet store, pet part of the store. And I remember saying, okay, we are gonna do this, you know, like I would in the service. And the response I got, what's this we stuff, you know? Yeah, you know,
You get
just
the respect when they come back.
they get the respect. Yeah, I get the respect now. You know, when they know I'm in the service, they thank you for their service. You know, I don't know if that's just New Mexico or that's nationwide, but it's great. You know.
Yeah, I think it's
Paulson, Norman, McLeod, Morgan, James, Henry, Lowline, Robert, John, R.
So you were in Vietnam?
Yes, sir.
And when were you there and where were you and what did you do?
I was in Vietnam 67, 68. I was assigned to the 25th Infantry Division, 2nd of the 14th Infantry Division.
I remember when you came back, how you were treated and how people reacted to you.
I came into California and I thought I was in a different world when I got there. Didn't expect people to dress the way they were, had long hair, beards and things like that. Wasn't treated too good.
Yeah.
No, wasn't treated too good.
And that's changed now, though.
Yes, and I'm glad it has changed. But it was hard. It was, I guess, confusion in the mind, you know.
Do you remember any unique individuals from back then that stayed with you over the years?
Well, one of them that stayed with me and we still came in contact is, well, there's three of them. Gilbert Rodriguez out of Amarillo, Texas. George Velasquez out of Victoria, Texas, and our radio man was Leo Pineda out of Marfa, Texas. And we keep in contact, but I just find it hard to talk about. But there are individuals that we will never fade.
So, are there any names on the wall that you know of that?
There's a total of 6 there that I remember. They all got killed the same day. Then we lost 2 the next day. But we made promises that we talked to our parents, you know, their parents. And to them was Samuel Leglu and William Scott Slocum. Was never able to get a hold of William Scott Slocum, but I was able to finally get a hold of, through their help, of Samuel Leglu's mother and brothers. But I think I waited a little bit too long because wasn't easy to try and talk to them, you know. But like I said, we did meet with Samuel Lagu's mother, which is she's I believe 90-some years old. Just a few weeks ago, we met here in Albuquerque. The son and daughter came with him, and one of the other soldiers that was with us, Gilbert Rodriguez, also came by. The other two weren't able to make it. And in some ways it was a relief. In other words, it brought bad memories. But at the same time, we looked at the good memories that we did have and discussed that, you know. But I just found it hard to tell a 90-some-year-old mother about the death of her son, you know. Well, I mean, that's she's already been told and all this, but I guess in the mind, I don't know, I haven't been on the other side. They still had some questions, but she brought down his picture and the letter that they give when the president does when the soldier dies, that they present to the mother, and the flag and whatever medals he had. So I never knew that it would come to that. I wanted to, but I didn't want to, and it's just a hard thing to go through. But at the same time, I feel I cheated a family. Slocum's, William Scott Slocum. Wasn't ever able to get out of them, you know. But they give it their all, and we'll carry them down with us. But they were fine soldiers. I call them the greatest. And I don't know what else to say, you know, other than I think of his brother who was very thoughtful, as well as his sister. When we spoke, it made it a lot easier. But I could say my daughter Rachel and my son-in-law Sean gave me the boost and the strength to be able to do it, and along with my wife, you know, yeah. But we you know, want to continue. She wants to continue keeping contact, you know, with each other, yeah. And that's about all I got to say. Yeah.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As many years as it's been, it still hurts, you know. And we just pray for the soldiers out there now.
Yeah.
Well, we did our best, what we could, with what we had, you know. Mm-hmm.
Lowline, Robert, John, R. Mays, Harry, Leroy. Palmer, William, Herschel. Willis, Heine. Rowe, Ernest, Leroy. Smith, Everett, Harold, Jr.
During the Vietnam era, some of us had to protect our borders in other parts of the world, overseas in Germany, although there was nothing really going on there, but especially in the Pacific Area Command, places like Korea and other places, Japan even, there was quite many Asian countries who were kind of in support of Vietnam against the Americans. So anywhere that we had soldiers in the Pacific Area Command, anywhere you were in some type of danger. I served 63 and 64 in Korea, place called Camp Page, which was north of the 38 parallel and just south of the DMZ. And I remember at nights serving in the motor pool on guard duty when you couldn't even see your hand in front of you because you weren't allowed to have lights of any kind because that would be a target. And listening to the North Koreans on the other side within earshot, just trying to harass, knowing that we were there and just harassing and making our life miserable, and also traveling in the streets of South Korea, not knowing whether you're encountering North Koreans and sympathizers with Vietnam, with North Vietnam. So it was kind of strange. We didn't think much of it at the time because we weren't right on the front lines. But I used to travel to Seoul, to the support supply depot in Seoul, Korea, which is the main one for the whole country in Seoul. And you'd see these personnel carriers all shot up, windows all shut up, and you never heard about these young men that would die there because they weren't in Vietnam, but they were part of the Vietnam conflict. One of the reasons why they say Vietnam era as opposed to those who fought in Vietnam is because there are many others who were equally ready, willing, and able to be on the front lines, but obviously we couldn't all be on the front lines. Some of us had to be in other places, and I'm proud to say that I served in Korea from December of '63 to December of '64, and I saw a lot of things that were not, heard of back home in the States. But I also remember being treated when I got back home like dirt, being spat on, and the hippies and getting all over our faces when we got off the planes at the airports. And if you had a uniform, usually we tried to travel without a uniform and somewhat incognito because we wouldn't want to be put down, I guess. I know before I went into the military, I had an idea about wanting to serve and how proud I was that that I volunteered, because I was not drafted. I volunteered the regular Army, and coming out back from during the Vietnam War, coming back from Korea in uniform was quite a bummer, so to speak. I no longer felt the same way. Till the rest of my time in the military, I just kind of hit the fact that I was in the service. I used to get out and take my clothes off and put on civilian clothes and spend the rest of the day like that, for fear of other people who wanted to, just be mean and things like that. But anyway, it's my story about, I'm glad that they recognize all of us who served during the Vietnam conflict, not just those that were in the front line, but I tip my hat to those that were in the front lines, especially those that gave their all for the rest of us, and for the protection of our families and our futures. It all. So there's three of us, the males, with the last name Ramos in one family, and all three of us served. My sons followed in my footsteps.
Well, that's cool.
I'm very happy for that. I know that I'm Puerto Rican by birth, and we lost quite a few Puerto Rican nationals. We're all American at birth, but it's a small country, and our numbers are high in comparison. Per capita, we have quite a few casualties. Also quite a few casualties amongst Hispanics. Again, in general, per capita. I was reading some of those panels up. They have 10, 15 Hispanic names, and that's not the biggest panels, I'm proud to see that too. Proud to know that we all participated as Americans, not as Puerto Ricans or as Mexicans or anything else. We all participated as Americans, putting our lives out there, for the same purposes.
Very good.
The gentleman who planned this trip here with the wall. They have their coffee every morning at the Cafe Connections, which I was a proud owner of at one time. That just recently gave up my ownership, but they still go there every day, and that's where they plan their battles, so to speak. You know, I get Gary and a few of the other guys, and that's fun too, because I get to hear a lot of war stories. I don't participate a lot because, like I said, I wasn't on the front lines, but you know, I put in my little 2 cents here and there, and make them feel good, and it makes me feel good too. It's just an honor to volunteer. I guess it's something that must run in my family. My sons they're what kid nowadays volunteers for Iraq unless he really has it in his heart to be a patriot and to want to serve, you know, because a lot of them went out there and with almost certain death facing them. You know, so no, I'm quite proud of that.
Smith, Everett, Harold Jr., Seaton, David, Thomas, Sebastian, Joseph, William, Sublett, Michael, Kent, Blaine, Dennis.
I came here this weekend thinking that I was going to be working with the Community Emergency Response Team, working in the first aid tent. And fortunately, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of first aid to be done, so I wound up helping the Legion riders to look up names for people so that they could locate where their people were on the memorial wall. And one of the things that I discovered, the oldest guy I found, the oldest one I looked up, was 28 years old. Most of them were 18, 19, maybe 20. The average was like 19. And everybody had a story. Lots of people were here just looking for family names to see if there was anybody from the family that, you know, because they were young and they weren't really familiar with the era and who was there and who wasn't. But a lot of them were here to find their friends, their family, their brothers. And I'm sorry, it's been very emotional for me today. And what really set me off was I was sitting there going through this book. I mean, this book's like this thick, very thin paper, small print. And there's just so many of them. 58,000 names in that book. And I was looking something up for this one woman. She had 3 people she was looking for. And her daughter, probably about 6 years of age, was sitting there looking at me, looking up the names. And she looks over and she says, "There's so many." And I just lost it. Just absolutely lost it. And I think one of the best things about this whole thing has been the impact on the children. They are sitting there looking at this wall, and it just, the immenseness of it, it is so big. There are so many names. And it's just a very overwhelming, emotional thing. I mean, there are people here that were looking for whole lists of people from their hometown, from their families, from their high school class. It just astounded me. I'm sorry. But I feel so honored to be able to help, to be able to work with these veterans and their families, to be able to help them connect with their people. And it just, It's been a real experience. Like I said, it's been a very emotional one. And I'm just very glad I got to do it. Really glad. And the size of this wall is unbelievable. I mean, it's so impressive. I know that in some of the other photos that you're going to see, that you will actually see more of the wall. And keep in mind, it is 1/2 the size of the real one in DC, the one it's copying. And a visual to get so that you can understand really what the impact of this has been this weekend. This one guy gave a unbelievable visual. He says every name on that wall is a body. And the size of this field is humongous. And he figures that, you know, to lay the bodies out in this field would fill it 5 times. There are just so many people that they made it home, but they didn't make it home alive. So, thank you.
Kent, Blaine, Dennis, Newt, Barola, Sammy, Jr., Del Verde, Ronald, Leon.
Wait, so when were you in Vietnam?
I was in Vietnam in December the 17th, 67, and I left December the 18th, 68. These people that are on the wall, a lot of them gave their lives so others could live. They really did. That's why I'm coming to honor them, because they're very important people that really helped us out. Helicopter pilots that crashed, giving up their lives so other people could live. So I really respect them.